Hello and welcome to Get Good. This is another Talks episode. My name is Bruce and I'm joined, as always, by my lovely co-host and founder of Get Good, Magnus. Magnus, how are you doing?
Very good this morning. Very good.
Excellent. Well, I think this is going to be an interesting Talks video because this is probably one where we will have quite different opinions, I think.
Yeah.
And really it's that question of what is it you look for in a model that makes you think, I want to paint that, or gets you excited or inspired or interested in wanting to paint?
Yeah.
I guess because we've each selected some models, before we dive into that, Magnus, like in general, what would you say excites you when like looking at model releases and things like that?
Yeah. This is kind of a funny topic because um, as a community we do like talk about new releases, right? And share the pictures and hype about it, and it is incredibly different what people are actually looking for. And to me, that's actually the most exciting part. It is that I can see something and think, wow, I think this is so cool. But getting like the excitement from others and what they are looking for, and sometimes even because some talk arrives from it, right?
Mm.
And that means sometimes I'm kind of, I don't want to say swayed because it's not a like, oh, I don't like this black and white, but kind of. And then you can see maybe a potential that you couldn't see before, which I quite like,
Yeah.
Especially because um, when you see the releases, they are almost always painted in the same style, and that means if you are not a very like visual thinker, and I'm not a visual thinker.
Mm.
So if you're not, it can be kind of tricky, like picking out what models would look great under other conditions, because you're looking at what you have visually in front of you, which may or may not be the most flattering or even speaking to your style, right?
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the classic
So
thing that we talked about in the Dante episode. Like, is that
yeah,
like
exactly.
you see that heavy metal job and yeah, it's not that interesting, but then you see how people twist it and take it further, and
Yeah,
suddenly that model becomes a lot more exciting.
yeah. So that is really really exciting for me to get kind of a view on new releases and what people, because some people will be drawn to some things and some people to other things, but having people kind of put into words why they like a model,
Mm.
it is kind of it's exciting to me at least. And of course I
Yeah.
have some things that I do look for in models. It's um I think that's the exercise today, is to kind of try and put into words why this model is the one I would like to paint, right?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
it's it can vary quite a lot. I have some almost hard nose, which is actually more of a point for me picking a model than uh, what I am specifically looking for. I have
I
some
really
hard
want to
nose.
know these hard no's now. What's your hard
Uh,
no list?
Uh, I am a hard no, almost a hard no on wings. I cannot stand wings. I hate them, hate them, hate them. And I know it's so many great models with wings. I would love to own and paint a Bellacore, but I know in my heart of hearts, I will never get through it. I will get excited and paint and get to the big wings, and the project will stop. It is. I have two demons in my cabinet right now that are probably something like I don't know, 70% done or something like that, and almost only need wings and basing, something like it at least. And I just cannot, for the love of God, get get into them. It crushes me, and it
So
maybe.
Dante's backpack, a-okay. Wings, absolutely not.
I mean, now I've learned something about Dante's backpack, I guess. But
Better not
yeah,
though.
I think uh, something for me is like, I guess, repetitiveness. There is a real reason why I'm not painting a unit of 10 Space Marines.
Yeah.
And the real reason is repetitiveness. I don't find it. I spend a lot of time on the one model and the panels on that one model, and that is for me repetitive enough. And I'm kind of fed with that, I guess.
Yeah.
Which means having to paint. If it was painting wings, put one wing one side, no problem. But it always kind of is painting it 4 times, right?
Mm.
And I think that's the real, like the deal breaker for me regarding wings. That, and often the wings are huge. It's like even just the size of them. So it's, and some of them are sculpted with a lot or some texture, but some of them aren't really sculpted that much, which means you're kind of doing a huge freehand project on the wings to look them to make them look nice and interesting. Because to the display level painting, you can't just like send it and prime it and then slap a contrast over it. It won't look good with everything else and in the style I'm painting and all of that. So that's a thing for me that is.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you paint a belt with kind of a degree of care and attention. So imagining like what you do in every feather or scale is a little bit terrifying, maybe.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so those huge things, and it is actually a reason also why I normally shy away from large scale, because I know the like time investment is gonna be massive. It's having to paint a small miniature. There is kind of a degree. If they are extremely small, it's kind of inverse because it gets kind of even slower than a normal. If you have something marine sized, for example, it's kind of in the sweet spot because you have room, but it's not very large. Right?
So there's not going to be like a Legion Imperialis tutorial, is what I'm hearing.
I don't think so. That's another almost kind of like a hard no. I'm not into vehicles at all. I don't really know why, but I'm just not into it. Big flat panels, and I think the excitement in lighting and no, it's just maybe if I had an airbrush to start it out with, because you can kind of cut some corners, make a nice gradient, get the lighting on, and then get quickly to the refining. Because for me, the refining is the exciting part. Like building up and seeing that, like the effect of the light or the whatever it is, kind of come to life is the exciting part for me. So slapping down base coats for hours and hours on end, trying to get a smooth blend on 400 like panels is just, it is not for me either.
This is too miserable now, because we're talking about stuff that excites us.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the actual positive. Yes. Hey, this is the kind of model. So we're going to start.
Yeah, and none of the models I chose were.
None of them are vehicles. None of them have wings. None of them are tiny.
No.
So first up is this behemoth. It's a new release, isn't it?
It is. It is. I really enjoy the look of it. It's actually both of the characters on the picture. The Stormcast is the one I'm drawn to the most and first. It suffers a bit from what every model does now, is being like over detailed.
Yeah.
But that's just the name of the game, I think, because they put a lot of details for you to have like something to I guess grab onto, right, when you're painting. So you have kind of like it's almost like it's mapped out a bit, because it's a bit painting by numbers, right? Because the more details, the more things you can see. Okay, this is another color, this is another color, this should be like this should be like that. So I think almost all of the newer models suffer a bit from it, but I'm looking at this one and thinking, yes, this is my jam. It has, I mean,
Has a
I
lot
love
of
me
potential
some,
for NMM. This is all I'm
yeah,
taking
I
from
love me
this.
some non-metallics. I really, really do. Which is, of course, one thing I'm looking for or at. It is the non-metallic part. I would say though, if you're not a non-metallic kind of person, it is still great. You can do some nice things with TMM on it in the same style. So it doesn't have to be a deal breaker for either or. But that's one of the things I'm looking at. Another thing I'm looking at is like nice, simple weapons. They like big weapons with all kinds of different curves and shapes and spikes and chains running up and all of that thing. While it's fine, it's just not suitable, or at least not too suitable for my style of painting. I want it to look like the design of it be kind of simple, so I have freedom to put into like the sculpt what I want to. If I want a super shiny blade or something that is worn or whatever it is also something I am looking for. Um, and a third thing I'm looking for and that I am liking with this one is I really like an open pose.
Hmm.
It makes it so personally I don't mind painting in sub assemblies, and I will most often keep the head and possibly weapons off. Uh, of course, depending on how the sculpt is, right? It needs to be able to come off.
Yeah,
uh,
kind of key.
yeah, without. Yeah, but you can still, if it's a clean, if the hand has kind of like a clean cut or something, you can cut off the hand yourself, even though there isn't a joint already. But the sculpt has to be lending itself to it. But I will say the more like fully assembled for me, the better. I need to be able to reach everything, especially since I'm gonna get annoyed when I can't get behind something or whatever, because I'm thinking even though it is mostly hidden, it's not painted to the same standard as everything else because of like even just the logistics of getting into it, right?
Yeah.
Um, So an open pose is something I'm looking for too, where I could, for example, this one, I could probably keep off the head, the axis, and possibly, I'm guessing the cloak is loose too, just to get like behind everything and not have that like from bright going into straight into primer because now your brush don't reach no more. And it's I know the whole yeah, if your eyes can see it, your brush can reach it, and it's
That's
kind of true,
nonsense.
but
No,
kind of not.
I absolutely
Yeah,
disagree with that presumption.
yeah. No, I like the sentiment that you can because you can paint some things before others, so you can paint kind of in layers. But no one is starting with the back of the cloak, right?
Yeah, and I like to
So
enjoy my painting as well, and
yeah,
like getting like
exactly.
the crunchy.
Yeah.
Like, no, absolutely not.
No, no, no. I just got through Halgrim for Patreon, and let me tell you, I should never have stuck that together. That were,
Yeah,
yeah. So
it's fine.
yes,
It's
that is
past you
also
now. You've done it. Don't worry about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's in the past. It's in the past, and it turned out okay. But it's. I'm just saying that there are some things I generally prefer to not have stuck on, and the more like open the poses, the easier it is to have the things you want not stuck on to be loose, and then you can have the rest. For example, that guy, I would probably like on the right side, our looking at his right side, um, he has like the raised axe. I would probably angle it a bit upwards so it's so you can actually because right now both of them are kind of turning to the side
Yeah,
downwards. And I would probably angle it so it one of them is like the one he's looking at is turned a bit more up, so you can better see. I did the same with Dante. I just twisted the axe a bit, and
that's something I've noticed with you. You like those weapons to be seen in quite a stark
I
profile.
will love it. I really want to have like a main focus on the model, something like kind of if you would take the one picture, right? Like we're seeing here, and I want as much to be seen. I don't have a problem with hidden details and like a bit of a Easter egg here and there. It's nothing like that. I just want that main like view to be nice and to show for that guy we're looking at now at least one of the weapons, right? So you can see how it's like supposed to look with the model.
Can I ask then, sculpted smoke? Because this is a controversial thing.
Yeah.
This is a model that
No,
has
I don't like it.
Okay, so you'd whip that off.
Yes, I commented on that also in the community, like within Discord, that the first thing I'm doing with the with the guy trying to ask someone to prom is get off.
I love that guy. Don't be mean to my guy.
No, I think it's a great one, and it's yeah, I think it's great, and the posing on it is good, and it really fits with the other like the Stormcast. So I think they are great together, and one is very very detailed, and one is more simple. I really like that. But sculpted smoke, no, thank you. I have seen sculpted smoke be rendered to a very high quality and looking very good. But I generally don't like it. No.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
something that should be kind of like gaseous and almost ethereal. All those
it can't be solid. It just doesn't. I think it doesn't work.
It doesn't
you
work
have to be able to
anyway.
see through it. I mean, personal taste by all means, but smoke. When I do 3D renders, a key thing about any sort of like volumes like that is that you can see through them, and you have to. And obviously, you can't do that when it's plastic. So the real solution is just to put a little smoke generator in it, and then like hope that makes it look good. I think because I'm mindful we have a lot of models to get through. The thing that that like interests me about this is, and it comes back to the point you said earlier, like sometimes other people's excitement can get you interested in a model. Because when this first time I was like, okay, there's a Stormcast, great, done. I really like the dude that's with him. I like his his hands, and there's like really simple shapes there that I think I could have fun with. But actually, I've seen people talk about the fact that the heavy metal team like very intentionally weathered a lot of this like steel or iron on him, and doing a more kind of weathered grungy Stormcast is appealing to me, and maybe something that I'd be more interested. I think probably it helped that I watched Eric Swinson paint a load of aged steel. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to try on something, and I think this is kind of a perfect model for that.
Yeah, and I bet you that when you see some high quality versions of this one, you will look at it and think, oh, that looks very nice. It might not be something you can emulate, but I bet you will look at it and think that looks pretty good. I mean, I'm painting up Bastion, and for a lot of people, Stormcasts are boring, and they like generally doesn't really look appealing to them. But when you see something rendered very nicely, it's hard for you to not get into it. And that's the danger with Instagram. Go on there, and suddenly you have
you're spending money.
1,000 new minis in your basket and about to press.
Yeah, I mean that's how I ended up with a Commander Farsight. So it happens. Right. This is it's my selection next, and very different because I've not shared with you mine. This is very cruel to kind of do it live.
And we spent quite some time talking about this one because some of the general things from this one will bleed over into the others. So yeah.
But it's okay because this is something very different.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
Well, so let me talk about this, and then be good to get your opinion, because there's a lot. I mean, obviously at the top, the vent smoke, absolutely not. That comes off.
Yeah.
And when I first saw this model, I didn't like it. I saw it and I thought, part of me
Hmm.
with Tyranids loves like the sleek, like speed that's almost implicit in a lot of the sculpts. And I looked at this and thought, oh no, no, thank you. But then I've kept coming back to it, and I've kept coming back to it, and I think there's a few things that really excite me about this, and probably I probably will buy it at some point. So number one is I like organics. This is
Yeah,
something that I've come to understand about myself is I really like painting organics,
yeah,
and skin, yes, like decayed skin, absolutely, alien skin, like, and there's something about the fleshy grossness of tyranids that I really like. Um,
yeah,
the second thing is the pose, where at first I was like, this is kind of weird because it's like back to front, because the butt's in the air, the head's down low,
mm,
and I was thinking that is quite strange. But when I look at it now, the way that the legs are angled and the way it's positioned, there's a sense of movement in the sculpt that actually gets me excited about telling a story with this. And this is, I think, where you and I diverge a bit, because by your own admission, you don't visualize stuff like that. You kind of
no,
look
I
at it
don't.
like, okay, this is how it's seen. And I see the movement of that mouth coming closed, and I want to know, well, what's going into there, or maybe even it's getting pushed by something behind it. So could it like playing it with a dreadnought or something like that? And so I begin to look at the shapes as like possibilities, and that really excites me. And then the final thing, which isn't something I first appreciated, and I think the reason I didn't appreciate it is because I was looking at the heavy metal paint job, not what other people had done, is the mouth on the model.
Yeah,
Is obviously this giant cavernous open thing. Does look like it'd be a bit of a nightmare to paint and get my brush into. But when I've seen this model rendered with the body in one color and like almost like dark value, like real low
yeah,
values, and then the mouth is this high value, like more, with like loads of teeth and blood and viscera, I'm like, yeah, that's cool to paint. And so this is a good example of a model I've switched on, and I'm probably going to buy and paint just because it does excite me. But by your admission, not a huge Tyranids fan. So what do you think?
even you talking about it now is kind of getting me. Yeah, I can see that. Generally, no, I don't like the aesthetic of the Tyranids. It's I am less into the organic than you are, definitely. And but when you talk about it now, I can see this one like brilliant for a diorama or something, or a duel
Yes.
or whatever. So I do agree that, and this is why I think it's so important to talk about these things, because you can kind of be turned off by something and then look at it from the other angle, and then yeah, I can actually see that. And I think the posing isn't as bad as like it is a big kind of almost a cylinder
Mm.
on the back, and you can light that nicely, be a bit dramatic with it, and I agree with you 100% that I think it's not a great choice to have it kind of like samey in color, because I agree with you that you would kind of want the mouth to stand out, because it's the danger part.
It's the danger,
Uh,
and it's the best part of the model. Like ultimately, like it's so
yeah,
good.
and I think it's not. I don't want to be, yeah, talking the Tyranids down, because they have nice shapes and carapace all over, and you can get that stripy texture in there and looking super nice. And I've seen some of them with that the crab pattern. I
Yes.
don't know what it's called, the dotty one,
Yeah.
and they look fabulous too. So it's just like kind of my painting style is, I like the more like the hard edges, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but this one is also one I'm looking at and thinking this would be great for like a glazing exercise, because you can definitely go bright on some things and then glaze shadows in, which is much better. Like the organic kind of shapes are better for that, because you can start with, for example, a contrast just to get it to define all the shapes, and then you can reinforce on those shapes, right? So it's not I'm not completely turned off by this, even though, and especially hearing you say, yeah, this is my thoughts about it. I'm much more into it, right? So it would be something I would personally, if I'm sitting just by myself, I would click through it. Yeah, I would. But that's not to say when I see something on Instagram like a model like this rendered very nicely, I'm definitely stopping up and looking at it and thinking, ooh, yeah, nice one.
Yeah, and I don't know whether it's me or Tyranids in general. And this is is this like a thing with the sculpts or just like the way my personal preferences eke out? It is probably my personal preference, but for me, Tyranids have this real hard swing where some paint jobs I see and I'm like, no, I really don't like this. Like, I really don't like the heavy metal style for Tyranids actually, because it's quite colorful and cartoony. And in my head, I think of Tyranids and I think of Alien, which is like dark, like it almost suits the grimdark style, but grimdark kind of comes with some hard swing. So it's like when someone paints one well, I'm like, this is amazing. That bloody rich grade Norn Emissary that he's never going to finish. But seeing it is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you love to see it.
Right. So one of yours next, Magnus. It's this one.
Yeah, I really like that one too. This is more organic, but still has some of those things I'm looking for, right? You can see like the headdress or like that helmet or whatever it is. Has like those hard edges I'm looking for, something I can do a nice non-metallic on. It is a bit over detailed, but it's not too bad. The posing on this one is not ideal. It's obviously because of like it's a lizard. So
it is indeed a lizard. Can confirm.
Yeah, it really is. And but actually, that's why I really like the posing on the Croxigors, for example, which are very open. The ideal Seraphon model for me would be kind of like Croxigors, but with that headdress and like those kind of golden, or you can paint it of whatever metal you want, but those metal elements. But I do like this one. It has some organic shapes to it. I really like that you can be creative with the scales, like the skin and the scales interaction. If you want to kind of like fade it into, or you want lighter skin, darker scales, or the other way around. I will be painting out this one. And another thing I'm looking at is, even though like his staff is a major thing on the model and can take some focus, it's still, for me, you can do a nice like jade on it, and you can be creative with your like going from almost dark teal and into almost lime colors. So you can be creative with the look of your jade, and then still have the focus on that big bright headdress. Or I'll be trying to, at least.
Yeah, that's a challenge for you. I mean, my eye is always drawn to the ball of energy in the middle of the staff.
Yeah.
To the point that I barely look at the lizard when I look at this. I think because I like jade as well, like when it's painted nicely, which I think this is, and like it's just, my eyes just hits there every time.
Yeah.
And so having to balance what is essentially 2 points of interest, I'm really interested to see where you take that.
Yeah, I think it's because the style it's painted in, the headdress isn't as bright as it could be. That's one of the things I like with non-metallic, is that you can get that super high contrast. So you can get almost like a greenish white on that metal, right where you want people to look, and it will be the biggest and brightest spot on the entire model, and hopefully it will work out so that people will look at it like that. The only thing I'm not liking too much about this model is one and a half things, because the posing is not the best, right?
Fair.
But I personally actually don't like that energy ball. That's another thing. It's kind of almost like smoke for me. And
Wow. Okay.
I have been building, and I was incredibly close to just taking it off, and that stuff is just, not turned on.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know why. I don't know what it is exactly, but it kind of is the same like the smoke or because it is something very fluid and something kind of ethereal or see-through or whatever you want to call that thing is also, for example, a model like the Necron Void Dragon. I, I really like the pose. I do not enjoy at all the energy tentacles thingy, whatever it is too much of that, and it looks a bit weird to me because
Yeah.
it's again something that should be very fluid, ever moving. That isn't. It's very
Yeah.
static, and it
You don't
is
want it
so
to feel
hard
like
to.
time's been stopped. You want it to feel like the model's alive almost.
Yes, exactly, and that's so. I'm not too fond of those kind of things and kind of shapes, so I tend to sometimes just forego it completely, cut that thing off, and then make the rest of it stand out so no one remembers.
I'm going to hold you to that. Oh, I mean, would you do OSL on that energy ball?
I would that yeah, I would, but the thing is, to me, now we're talking about composition, but that that would be tricky because now you're doing OSL and you want the head to be the focus point, right? So now
Yeah.
you have two bright spots, and you can see on this one they've kind of made that dark OSL, but it is incredibly hard to make every like almost an inverted light sphere. It it works in like sci-fi and you because you can do some other tricks, but painting something on to make it because this one looks almost like an inverted light thing, uh, incredibly hard.
Mm.
So either you go full OSL and it will be like fighting with the focal point, or you can just lean into it and say yes, the
Yeah.
nice OSL on the staff definitely my focus point, but it's not what I'm trying to go for. Yeah,
And I think that's what I struggle with. I really feel like I'm constantly talking down heavy metal paint jobs, which I'm not. They're incredibly good paint jobs, but
yeah, they
like
are.
there's no OSL in this. And when I think of energy, I think about when I'm doing like 3D modeling and I'm working in some lights, and like anything that creates electricity is going to have this huge sphere of light. And when I
Yeah,
don't see that in the model, I'm like,
yeah,
oh, it feels like it's not, it feels fake because light doesn't
yeah,
work that way, unfortunately. And yeah, it really bums me out. But I'm looking forward to see what you do with this.
yeah. Me too.
Now, I think I surprised myself with my second pick.
Yeah, you surprised me.
Yeah. So there's a particular thing I want to talk about with these that
Yeah,
I thought like really suits the conversation in general because by and large, I just said previously, I love organics. No
yeah.
organics here. I also
No,
love like nurgly things. Nothing of that here. Space Marines are about as kind of like
almost
not
as
simple.
vanilla as you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they are the basic bitches of the 40k world, and that's fine. There's I'm not shaming it. Um,
No.
but and like I've painted a few, but when I look at this set, when I saw it from like the previews and stuff like that, the thing that keeps catching my eye and still does and still makes me really excited is the Terminator in the top right. He's got bolt like storm bolter with one hand, but this
Yeah,
the second hand is this like clawed grip,
yeah,
and it probably comes back to the previous sculpt, the idea of motion and movement and violence, because I think this is a violent world ultimately. And I saw that and I thought I have to buy that because
yeah,
I want to realize something violent with that hand. I don't know what, but I look at that and I'm like, not only is that a really aggressive like pose, because Terminators have this thing where I don't think they look like they have no emotions because it's just a mask. Um, but there's something in the physicality of this model that I'm like, I really want to paint that. And also something that I begin to appreciate as I've grown in confidence in painting is those big flat shapes become ample room for freehand and just experimenting and having fun. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to paint one of these and I'm not going to use decals. I'm going to just freehand it all. And yeah, I'll probably mess bits of it up, but I'll still have fun along the way. And
Yeah.
that's okay. And so, like, I begin to look at this in a new way, but just that it's amazing how that little thing of just the slight pose, that slight difference made me want to buy these. And that's why I have them over there. I'm gonna assemble them soon.
Yeah, it ties greatly into the last model I picked too. I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. I really enjoy the Terminators. I really do. I almost got the box with the new Dark Angels Terminators, the one with he's kind of holding a sword that's standing on the ground. Oh, I love that sculpt so much. I agree. While they are like basic looking shapes, and yeah, sure, it's kind of samey, I guess. But that is the reason why I'm not painting up 2 units of this.
Yes.
But painting one is, I mean, I painted the captain, the one that's standing with the foot on the tyrannid head.
Oh yeah, it's a lovely model.
Yeah, it is, and it kind of has a bit of the same posing, right? And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it so much. And one thing I will say about these like big shapes, and they are all kind of like the traditional shapes in that they are cylinders or they are spheres or they are some of it is more curvy and whatever, but they are within those kind of like the traditional shapes. So it is great for practice, and they are very nice for like a bit of a dramatic look to them, where you can play with having a lot of light on top and then fade it more into darkness as you go lower to the legs. You can get like, even though you're not painting it non-metallic, you can still paint it kind of like reflective, but like more subtly, so you don't go as bright and as dark. But you can do like a main reflection, because the area is so large. Then you can have like a bounce light. So I think they are great. I cannot fault them. Yes, sure they are, but you can pick your favorite color. You don't have to paint them blue.
Yeah, that's very true. I will be painting them blue because I actually like the ultramarine blue.
Yeah,
but there is, I mean, you know, you mentioned before about the Deathwing, and that like creamy ceramite like color is really exciting to me, and I never thought it would be. And then I saw good paint jobs, and I was like, ooh,
yeah,
it can look really cool.
Yeah.
And like Blood Angels, where it goes into that orangey red, that like, ooh, and I think, you know, like you say, they're simple shapes, but as someone, you know, far earlier in the painting journey than you, I also look at this and think, I can practice my volumes. I can really care about light placement and getting dramatic light, and just not have to worry about fiddling with all the bits in between, and just focus on the broad strokes of the shapes. And that excites me, because it's also like, that's improvement, and being able to sit down the model and feel yourself getting better is a huge
100%. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Right, Magnus, your last one, I think, next.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the same. Look at the hand. I like that. Yeah, it is just ready to grab something. I really enjoy this one. Again, we're back in the territory of so many details. But I will say, I think this one is not too bad. I mean, I am quite picky with models in general, so I don't think they will release like the perfect model for me ever. But well, I can get into other stuff, and this is definitely one of them.
Hmm.
I have one gripe with it, which is sculpted fur. It is
Ah, okay.
incredibly hard to make it work. Incredibly hard. It works here on this paint job because it is in that style, like the whole heavy metal style painting. So it fits the the general aesthetic. But sculpted fur is very very hard to make look good together with everything else because it again it is something you want to look like. You want it soft, but you still need to accommodate for we are talking miniature, so you need that contrast, and having a lot of contrast means oftentimes at least it not looking very soft. So you're kind of split between yeah having to do one thing and wanting to do another thing. But that's the only thing I don't enjoy too much about it. I think the posing is kind of simple. I like that like dangly chains that you can make look very nice. Those chains are regular, normal chains for once. Yes, well done, good job. I don't like those weird spiky chains that are yeah regular chains. They you can if you're very precise with your brush, getting a main light and a bit of a bounce light on them, and they will look super shiny and very very nice. So and I think having I mean lots of trim is lots of trim. But I think, yeah, the size of this makes it so that I can probably get in there and make some nice reflections. And uh, like when you get to know how to render, like for example, one of those skulls, you can render a skull and it looks incredible
Hmm.
because it has that rounded shape and yeah, so you can really get into this model, I think. Uh, I would like to change the axe to a sword because I think swords look so so good, especially when they are angled. So you can kind of have that. The swords are like double edged, so they're split down the middle, and you can have a bright top side, and then you can put in nice reflections and a bit of bouncing and a secondary, and then you can have kind of the same thing, but on the underside. In a bit of a low value or another tone. And yeah, I really enjoy painting stuff like that. So I would probably want to change the weapon for a sword, but eh, it is.
Easy enough to do.
Yeah, it's just a bit of snipping and finding
Uh,
another bit.
it's funny because when you say that, I visualizing how it would look with that sword, and I was like, ah, yeah, that is a bit better. There's something about an axe angled
It,
down that is just a bit boring, I think.
it is a bit boring, and also they kind of suffer from the whole being kind of like the chain axe very detailed, and so you don't really have any room. You can't really. It is mostly just trim, and it's even mostly just trim angled downwards. And if you want to make something nice and shiny or metallic looking or whatever effect you're going for, it is gonna be a bit hard.
Hmm.
I have a Con the Betrayer that I'm a handful of hours or maybe two handfuls into, and that is kind of stuck for the same reasons because tiny, tiny trim and yeah, the axe that I just like a sword.
Yeah, and you can't give Khan the Betrayer a sword.
No, no, no,
that is
no. You
heresy.
just
People will
cannot.
come for you. Just
Yeah, it's
just do
probably
Damascus steel on it.
heresy.
It's fine.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, we've seen the Damascus steel teeth on a chain sword. Whew.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Onion Knight can do whatever the hell he wants, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
Yeah, but I'm keeping my sanity.
you know what? So something bugged me about this model for the longest time,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was wondering what the hell it was. And I realized at the moment I put the image up here, and it's the base. I cannot deal with chaos on a green meadow.
No,
It's
I
weird.
would do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would do this one in muddy, simple muddy base. Put two, three skulls there besides the rock, and have a bit of splatter up to the rock from the like the muddy whatever, and keeping it simple still, but don't put any green on those chaos bases. It looks too happy.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
nice pleasant stroll through the countryside with my chain
yeah,
axe or whatever. It's just it doesn't quite work for me. And yeah, like if I were confident doing this, and maybe it's something I can practice, is like I really love those magma bases with chaos because that like underlit
yeah,
glow looks evil,
yeah,
and that excites me. Um,
yeah,
but I could also get my 3D printer out and have him stood on a body because I also think something like that
yeah,
would
yeah,
work,
yeah,
which would be
yeah.
quite fun. Um, yeah, you've sold me on this one. I'm kind of tempted. Kind of looking at it.
This one would look great for a glowy base where you can have some underlight, so you kind of have it could be anything, but like let's say it was a bit of an orangey glow from below,
mm,
and then just about halfway through, because he's kind of like fat in the middle, I guess.
yeah,
So and then you have the natural light he's standing in. So you can do a lot of things with this model. I think it is better than probably getting credit for.
yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll check it out when it releases. Right, we're nearly at the end, and
Yeah,
this is going to be a quick one for me because I've just combined everything I've loved into my final selection, um,
yeah,
which is this is the platonic ideal of what I like to paint. I've decided to the point where when I was like researching models, I just bought this when I saw it
yeah,
because like to bring the things I've said together, the organics are beautiful. Like there is a lot there in that diseased flesh that can be painted. There is NMM, which I really enjoy painting, but where I'm at in my journey, too much NMM feels overwhelming to me,
yeah.
and I would rather spend time focusing on a few elements and really nailing them than doing loads of it. And so I look at that scythe and I'm thinking, God, that's going to be so
Yes.
cool to do. The bells kind of swinging off, and then that bit over the top. All of that's beautiful. Um, and and then the shapes on the model, I don't think it's over designed. I think the shapes are actually quite simple. There's a few flowing bits. Like the base is garbage again because he's walking in a green meadow, but like this has everything I want to feel happy, and
Yeah,
so yeah, I'm gonna paint it. So it's so good.
yeah, I agree completely. It is a gorgeous model. This one, it has those. You can look at the candles and you can see kind of it's called the flame, but I mean, yeah, you
They get
can,
snipped off. Don't worry about that. They're getting snipped
yeah,
off.
yeah, yeah. But I agree with you completely. This is a gorgeous model. It is organic, and it has like nice flowy shapes. It has a bit of movement from you can like the bell and chain swinging. It's I think I agree completely 100%. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous model, and I've seen and you could do great paint jobs on it.
Hmm.
100%. It has details, but it is still simple. Like it has areas that are quite simple, right? To paint and to render, and having those small bits of like you can see the shoulder, right, which is uh, something you can play with because of the shape while rendering your non-metallic on it. And I love me a bell. Nice, yeah, because bells are actually not that hard to get shiny looking if you know and study how to do it, right? I mean, it sounds kind of hollow coming from someone who's done bells before and can make them look shiny. But when you get like kind of crack the code, they're not too complicated. They
Hmm.
they are actually
I mean,
kind of
it's a
easy to do.
cone in essence, isn't it? In the grand scheme of
It
things,
is a
so
sphere on top, and then it goes into like a cylinder going down. So it's not super complicated, and you can. I agree with you in the sense that you what you're saying is I don't need like full NMM suits, and I don't need complicated everything, and I'm not gonna do a Necron in full non-metallic because it's overwhelming, and it is for most. It was for me too until not too long ago.
so you did
Uh,
dad say, and everything's easy now.
yeah, I mean, I started one before, but yeah, yeah. But it is something that you really have to work up to it.
Yeah.
And for me, and what I keep repeating is get something with some metallics on it in a shape that you would like to render, because then you can focus on that and then make a nice looking paint job like besides it, right?
Hmm.
So you're not ending up hating it because you didn't really get that metallic look to work out. That is my best advice for getting into it, actually. So I agree with you 100%. And you can do a very nice freehand on that scroll, huh?
I was just looking at the scroll thinking, damn, that's going to be good to freehand on. And it's got the
Yeah.
chains. This is a perfect model, Magnus. I mean, this is after this, it was all downhill for sculpts, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I agree. And this is actually one of those where I'm looking at the fly or whatever it is on the like
the
towards the
tabard bit between the legs.
yeah. It looks like fly wings, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and I really like the way they actually painted these fly wings.
Hmm.
This is an example of something where it kind of suffers a bit from the whole smoke and flame thing, but they actually managed to really make it nice because they, to me at least, varied the color and made it kind of pastely. And yeah, I think they are gorgeous.
Hmm.
And I know we've been talking the heavy metal paint jobs down. They're not bad at all. They are very good, and they are skilled painters doing like that specific style. And this one is a nice paint job too from them, I think. Yeah,
and I think as well, like a good showcase for like even though it's in that like heavy metal style, like TMM, like the TMM on this looks good. Like that shoulder guard looks good. Like with a bit of weathering, a bit of verdigris, it's nice.
Yeah, and focusing a light on the front, and it's a gorgeous model, and I like the paint. And that's the thing. Sometimes I look at the heavy metal paint job, and I think this model won't look good, as I said, because I'm not that visual actually. And then I see something someone has started it or whatever. I take great inspiration from all kinds of other paint jobs. Great inspiration. Love seeing all of them. And some of them, of course, speak more to me than others. It will always be like that. But I have been changed on a lot of models simply because of seeing some artists rendering it and making it interesting for me. So take inspiration. It can change your mind.
Yeah, and if a model ain't working for you, don't buy it. Find one that really does, and that excitement's going to kind of carry you in through the paint job.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think after nearly 50 minutes, that brings us to a close, Magnus. We went in deep on this, but as always, thank you for watching. There'll be more talks on the Patreon soon. We hope you found this interesting, and as always, if you have any ideas for a talks episode, put it in the Discord community, and we will speak to them. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.